Well, trying to properly frame this is incredibly difficult, and yes, I am standing on top of my bed. Shut up. Anyway, today we're talking about a game called Doll's Nest. It is an indie developed mecha shooter, third person mecha shooter, and it is developed and published by Nitro Plus. Apparently, Nitro Plus does a lot of visual novels, but I'm otherwise unfamiliar with them. The only thing that I can find on the Steam page is that they have this game that's still in development and a game called Rusty Rabbit. Doll's Nest is slated to come out this year, and Rusty Rabbit is set for an April release this year. Other than that, I don't really see much of anything, so I'm not entirely sure. Now, typically when it comes to a mecha shooter, I would probably hop in the Azure Rabbit or my flying mech, but for this release, I didn't exactly think that that would be necessary. This game is built on the Unreal Engine. I believe it's Unreal 5, but it, at least in the bit that's available in the demo, plays pretty well. There isn't too much of a story currently. There's no context for what's going on or what you're doing, and that's a little bit of a problem. You see, this environment, these ruins and all of the destroyed industry, it's like a very industrialized environment that you're navigating through, and it's pretty interesting. But because there's no context as to what we're doing, where we're going, it's all very, very confusing, and I found myself getting lost very, very often. In the tutorial, which I'll talk a little bit more in a little bit, I made the mistake of picking a sniper frame, or like a sniper preset. So my experience with the combat wasn't exactly the best, but that's my own fault. I won't knock the game for that. The combat is relatively straightforward, with your left click doing your shooting, Q firing any rear weapon that you have on your right, and I believe E will fire the other side if you have that equipped. I was not able to equip one in my time of playing the game. The gameplay itself wants to be very fast-paced, something similar to one of the older Armored Core games, but because I was locked down with a sniper rifle, I was only able to fight so fast, which is to say, I wasn't able to fight very fast at all. I was dealing out lots of damage with every shot, but I had to make sure that those hits landed. My rear-mounted weapon was like an artillery cannon, which I had to stop, firmly plant my mech's feet before firing, and only after the target had been hit and had time to recover would I come out of that animation in order to continue fighting. So it was really not that great. I wouldn't put this on any mech build because of how long it keeps you in a single spot. And for a game that wants to be as fast as this wants to, that's not very good. I mentioned the tutorial earlier. It's not a very good one. It tells you about the basic movement and how to fire your weapons, how to repair. It even tells you how to use an item wheel. But what it fails to do is it fails to tell you how to change your equipment. It fails to tell you how to add other items onto that item wheel. And that sort of thing is very, very important. That lack of information led me to spend a lot of time in the menu manually using items that I'm pretty sure should have been available from said item. A lot of time was wasted with that. The game also doesn't tell you that in order to change your equipment you have to be at a checkpoint in the form of a white tree. So that's something else that probably should be mentioned, because I spent a fair bit of time picking up different pieces of equipment trying to figure out why I couldn't put them on. I assumed that it was because of the type of mech that I picked during the tutorial, but in actuality it was just I needed to be at a checkpoint in order to do that. As I said before, the environment in these ruins are incredibly interesting, but there's something about the movement of this game that doesn't facilitate it very well. Dashing around and using your thrusters feels very good as long as you're going from point A to point B, but when it comes to stuff like platforming, this game isn't doing so good. There are a lot of sections where items will be on like the edge of a cliff or on something precarious. And you do have the ability to hover, but to be completely honest, that hover does not feel very good at all. And the way that this game handles its jump, it feels as though it's on some sort of delay. That means that when you need to be going up, you have to pre-hit the jump button, and it just doesn't feel very good. That being said, I ended up skipping a lot of items because I wasn't confident that I could platform my way to them or back. And if you want people to explore your maps, you kind of need to make sure that your movement is down so that they feel confident in doing so. Otherwise, they're not going to take the risk. Now, if there was something that indicated that the item that I needed to platform to was very important, then I would have had no choice but to do that. But again, there's really not a whole lot going on in the way of direction. So a lot of times I was just like, I don't think I need that, and I don't want to risk a fall. So we're just going to go ahead and skip it. And that's what we did. As far as the actual mech customization goes, when you actually find the menu, it's very in-depth. There's a lot going on. I would say almost too much. It's very obvious that they're taking inspiration from Armor Core, and that comes with a lot of good and a lot of bad. The good is that all of the different parts that you find can go to making some pretty unique builds depending on how you like your mech to play, how you want it to handle, and things of that nature. All of those stats on the screen do most definitely mean something, and you can feel a difference when you come out of them. The bad part, though, is that this is all incredibly overwhelming, and it can be very discouraging to try new builds when there's so many different aspects of the stats to take into consideration. It's not just weight and speed. You've got stuff like handling and ammunition. How much it costs to boost when you jump, or thrusters. And when you don't know what's going to be required of you as far as mobility, risking your mobility going down is like a pretty big ask. Like, you don't know if the next section of the map is going to require you to do a lot of jumping and hovering around or anything like that. You want to retain the ability to do that sort of thing, because it's the difference between you being able to complete a level or not. And I don't really know if this game is designed with all of this equipment in mind. So ideally, it would be possible to get through a level regardless of how good or bad your mech build is, as far as mobility and weight and that sort of thing. But there's a very real possibility that you could come up to a location that you can't make it through because of what you have on you. In which case, the only thing that you could possibly do is backtrack all the way to one of those checkpoints in order to change your loadout. Now, that didn't happen to me. I'm just saying that it's very, very possible. The demo doesn't have too much going on. In fact, it doesn't even let you fight the first boss. It'll play a cutscene introducing the first boss, and then it'll bump you, which is something that a lot of people have complained about in the community page for this game. But it is what it is. I do think that there is something about this game that's very charming, and the controls feel tight. It's a bunch of minor things that are making it feel a little bit less than ideal, but I think that over time this will be polished into something that's worth our time. So again, this is Doll's Nest. There is a free demo available on Steam. I'll leave a link to it in the description. As always, thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you all in another video.